A lion cub lost its mother and grew up with a dog. Now they are inseparable. It was a quiet night in South Africa's Kruger National Park when everything changed. The only sounds were crickets chirping and distant calls of nocturnal animals. That's when Ranger David Miller heard it, a weak cry that didn't quite sound like any animal he knew. As David swept his flashlight across the tall grass, something caught his eye. There, trembling in the beam of light, were two tiny eyes reflecting back at him. The weak cries grew louder. His heart sank as he moved closer. Parting the grass, David found a sight that would stay with him forever. A lion cub, no more than 3 weeks old, lay curled up and shaking. Its golden fur was dirty and matted. The little one could barely lift its head, but still fought to make those desperate calls for help. David knew that every second counted. His trained eyes scanned the area for signs of a mother lion or pride nearby. Lion cubs this young never stray from their mothers. The tracks told a heartbreaking story, signs of struggle, and worse, traces of poacher activity in the area. The cubs' cries grew weaker by the minute. In 15 years of wildlife rescue, David had never felt time move so slowly. He knew that without its mother, this tiny fighter had just hours to live. With no pride in sight and dawn still hours away, David made the hardest choice of his career, to remove a wild lion from its home. "I'm so sorry, little one," he whispered, gently wrapping the cub in his jacket. "But I promise this isn't the end of your story." Little did David know this moment would lead to one of the most remarkable animal friendships ever documented. The moment David got back to his truck, he knew every minute counted. His hands shook as he started the engine. The tiny cub lay so still in his jacket, taking tiny breaths. The rescue center was far, a long 40-minute drive through the dark park roads. "Hang in there, little buddy," David kept saying. He'd never driven so fast in his life. He called the rescue center on his radio. "I'm bringing in a baby lion. He's not doing good. Please be ready." Dr. Sarah was waiting when they pulled up. Her face fell when she saw how sick the cub was. "Quick, bring him inside," she said. They rushed him to their emergency room, a small, warm place where they help sick animals. The cub needed water badly. His tiny body was so weak he couldn't even cry anymore. The team worked together like a family, each person doing their part to save him. They gave him special water through a tiny tube to help him get stronger. They decided to call him Leo. While David and Sarah took care of Leo, other rangers went looking for his family. What they found made them really sad. They saw tire marks in the dirt, empty bullet shells on the ground. Bad people, poachers, had been there. They had taken Leo's mom away, leaving him all alone. For 3 whole days and nights, the team stayed with Leo. Every 2 hours, day and night, someone would feed him warm milk from a bottle. But Leo was still so sad. He'd cry and cry, missing his mom's warm fur and her heartbeat next to him. That's when Maria, who helped take care of the animals, thought of something. "Hey," she said one morning, "what about Ruby?" Ruby was her golden retriever who just had puppies. She was the sweetest dog anyone had ever met. She was even nice to the baby deer and monkeys that sometimes came to the center. The team wasn't sure at first. Put a baby lion with a dog? That seemed kind of crazy, but they were running out of ideas to help little Leo feel better. When they brought Leo to meet Ruby, everyone held their breath. Ruby looked up from her bed where she was feeding her puppies. She sniffed the air. Then the most amazing thing happened. She started wagging her tail. She looked at Leo like he was just another one of her puppies. Really carefully, they put Leo next to Ruby. Everyone watched, ready to move fast if anything went wrong. But Ruby just started cleaning Leo's face with her tongue, just like she did with her puppies. And Leo? He snuggled right up against her warm fur and fell asleep. He finally felt safe. Sarah couldn't believe her eyes. In all her years helping animals, she'd never seen anything like this. "Well, would you look at that?" she whispered, trying not to wake them up. "Looks like Leo just found himself a new mom." Nobody knew it then, but this was just the start. This little lion and this gentle dog were about to become the best of friends, and their story would make people smile all around the world. From day one, Ruby showed everyone what it means to have a mother's heart. She didn't care that Leo wasn't a puppy. She just saw a baby who needed love. Every morning, Ruby would check on Leo first, even before her own puppies. She'd give him a gentle nose bump, like saying, "Good morning, little one." At first, Leo was shy around Ruby's puppies. He'd watch from behind Ruby as they played and tumbled around. But Ruby's puppies were curious about their new brother. They'd come over to Leo, tails wagging, trying to get him to play. One day, the smallest puppy, they called him Buddy, brought his favorite rope toy to Leo. Leo looked at it, then at Buddy, then back at the toy. Everyone watched, holding their breath. Then Leo reached out his tiny paw and batted at the rope. Just like that, the ice was broken. Soon you couldn't tell Leo apart from the puppies, except that he was golden instead of fluffy brown. He learned to play like a puppy, chasing balls and tugging on toys. But sometimes his lion side would show. He'd try to stalk the toys like they were prey, making everyone laugh. Meal times were the sweetest to watch. Even though Leo had his own special milk bottle, he'd always try to nurse from Ruby like her puppies did. Ruby never minded. She'd lie there patiently, letting Leo think he was getting milk, just so he could feel like one of her babies. Nap times became a family affair. Ruby's puppies would all pile up for sleep, and Leo would squeeze right in the middle. They'd end up in what the rescue team called a puppy puddle, a big mix of paws, tails, and one little lion cub, all snoring away. Leo picked up dog habits that made everyone smile. He'd wag his tail when he was happy, something lions don't usually do. He tried to bark once, but it came out as a funny mix between a roar and a woof. Ruby would look at him like, "Nice try, sweetie," and give him an extra face cleaning. The best part was bedtime. Every night, Ruby would gather all her babies, puppies and lion cub alike, into their big soft bed. She'd give each one a goodnight kiss, saving Leo for last. Leo would snuggle up right under Ruby's chin, purring so loud the whole room could hear it. That purr said everything. "I'm home, I'm safe, I'm loved." The rescue team started calling them the Mixed Up Family. But watching Ruby and Leo together, nothing seemed mixed up at all. It was just pure love, the kind that doesn't care what you look like or where you came from. Maria, who first suggested Ruby as Leo's foster mom, puts it best. Love speaks its own language. Ruby and Leo might not speak the same animal language, but their hearts sure do. And sometimes that's all that matters. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Leo wasn't that tiny scared cub anymore. He was growing into a young lion, getting bigger and stronger every day. But one thing never changed: the way his eyes lit up every morning when he saw Ruby. Even though Leo grew taller than Ruby, he still acted like her baby. He'd follow her around the sanctuary yard, his big paws trying to match her smaller steps. The funny thing was, Leo couldn't decide if he wanted to be a dog or a lion. He'd chase balls like his dog siblings one minute, then practice his lion pouncing the next. Sarah, one of the caretakers, loved watching Leo try to copy everything Ruby did. When Ruby would bark at the sanctuary birds, Leo would try too. But instead of a bark, out came this funny mix of a roar and a growl. Ruby would look at him with such patience, like a mom watching her kid learn something new. At feeding time, Leo now ate meat like a growing lion should, but he'd always wait for Ruby to eat first, something he learned from being part of her family. Ruby would share a knowing look with him, like a mom proud of her child's good manners. Sometimes Leo would try to share his meat with Ruby, pushing the best pieces toward her with his nose, just like she used to share her food with him when he was little. The most amazing thing was how Leo acted during his checkups. Most young lions need to be given medicine to calm down for the vet, but not Leo. As long as Ruby was there, he'd lay still and let Dr. Sarah check him over. Ruby would put her paw on his big mane and Leo would stay calm as can be. The sanctuary staff started calling Ruby their secret weapon for medical checks. Playtime was always fun to watch. Leo learned to control his growing strength around Ruby and his dog siblings. He figured out exactly how rough he could play without hurting anyone. When they played tug of war with the big ropes, Leo would let Ruby win most of the time, even though he could easily pull the rope away if he wanted to. Sometimes visitors at the sanctuary would stop and stare, not believing their eyes. There was this big, powerful lion playing gentle with a dog half his size. Kids would press their faces against the viewing glass, watching in wonder as Leo softly batted at Ruby's tail or gave her gentle headbutts of affection. The sanctuary staff had never seen anything like it. Most rescued animals grew distant from their foster parents as they got older. But Leo and Ruby, their bond just kept getting stronger. When thunderstorms came, Leo would still run to Ruby for comfort, curling up as best he could next to her, even though he barely fit anymore. One of the sweetest things was how they shared quiet moments. In the afternoon sun, you'd find them laying together, Ruby's head resting on Leo's growing mane. They didn't need to do anything. Just being together was enough. It showed everyone that family isn't about looking the same or even being the same kind of animal. It's about love, pure and simple. David, the ranger who first found Leo, would often come visit them. "You know," he said one day, watching Leo and Ruby nap together, "some people might think it's weird, a lion and a dog being best friends. But when you see them together, it's the most natural thing in the world." Ruby gave Leo more than just love when he needed it most. She gave him a family. Today, Leo is a magnificent full-grown lion with a golden mane that shimmers in the sunlight. But in his heart, he's still Ruby's baby. At 6 years old and weighing over 400 pounds, he towers over his dog, Mom. But that doesn't stop him from acting like an oversized puppy around her. Every morning starts the same way at the sanctuary. As soon as the sun peeks over the horizon, Leo's deep rumbles echo across the grounds. He's calling for Ruby. When she appears at his enclosure gate, his whole body wiggles with joy, just like a happy dog. The sanctuary staff had to build a special meeting area where they can safely spend time together. Their morning walks are something everyone loves to watch. Leo walks beside Ruby, matching his big steps to her smaller ones. He's learned to be so gentle around her. When Ruby stops to sniff something interesting, Leo stops too, pretending to be super interested in whatever caught her attention. It's like he's still copying everything his mom does, just like when he was small. The way they talk to each other is amazing. Ruby has her dog barks and tail wags, while Leo has his lion rumbles and head rubs. But somehow they understand each other perfectly. When Leo's getting too excited, Ruby just needs to make a soft woof sound, and he calms right down. When Ruby's feeling tired, Leo lets out a gentle purr, and she comes to rest against his big mane. Around noon, they have what the staff calls their comedy hour. That's when Leo tries to play like a dog, even though he's this huge lion. He'll bring Ruby his favorite toy. Now it's a big rubber ball instead of the tiny ones he played with as a cub. The funny part is watching him try to fetch. He runs after the ball like a dog would, but then his lion instincts kick in, and he ends up pouncing on it instead. Their favorite time is nap time in the afternoon shade. They have this big platform where they rest together, Ruby usually using Leo's mane as a pillow. Sometimes she even tells him to clean his mane by giving it a few licks, just like she used to do when he was tiny. And Leo, he just lays there with the happiest look on his face, purring so loud you can hear it from far away. Maria, who still works at the sanctuary, says it best. "People ask us all the time if Leo knows he's a lion and not a dog. Of course he knows. He's a lion who just happens to have a dog for a mom. And if you ask me, that makes him the luckiest lion in the world." Leo and Ruby's story isn't just about a special friendship. It shows us something much bigger about the amazing world of animals. When visitors watch them together at the sanctuary, they often get teary-eyed. If a lion and a dog can love each other like family, they say, maybe we humans can learn something from them. The sanctuary team uses their story to teach people about how smart and feeling animals really are. When school kids visit, they sit wide-eyed as they learn how Ruby knew exactly what baby Leo needed: love, comfort, and a family. It shows them that animals, just like people, can feel love, sadness, happiness, and even understand when someone needs help. But there's a sadder part to Leo's story that needs to be told. He ended up at the sanctuary because poachers took his real mom away. Every year, many baby animals lose their families this way. The sanctuary workers use Leo's story to explain why we need to protect wild animals and their homes. They tell visitors, Leo was lucky to find Ruby, but the best thing is for baby animals to stay with their real families in the wild. Leo and Ruby have become the sanctuary's best teachers without even trying. Their special bond helps people understand why saving animals matters. Young visitors often leave saying that they want to help protect animals too. Some even come back years later as volunteers, remembering the lion who grew up thinking he was part dog. The sanctuary puts up pictures of Leo and Ruby at their entrance. Under them, there's a simple message. Love knows no boundaries. Neither should kindness to all living things. As the sun sets at the sanctuary, painting the sky in beautiful orange and pink colors, we find Leo and Ruby in their favorite spot. This is their special time together. Leo's massive figure rests gently next to Ruby's smaller one, his golden mane glowing in the evening light. Their eyes are half closed in comfort, just enjoying being together. Some people say animals don't feel real love, but watching Leo rest his huge head so carefully on Ruby's back, or seeing Ruby snuggle trustingly against her lion son, who's now 10 times her size, that's love in its purest form. They don't care that they look different, or that nature says they should be afraid of each other. They just know they're family. Years have passed since that scary night when a tiny crying lion cub was found alone in the dark. That same cub is now one of the most beautiful lions you'll ever see. But in his heart, he's still Ruby's baby, and she's still his mom. Their story shows us that sometimes the most beautiful families are the ones we never expected. You know, Leo and Ruby's incredible bond touches hearts every single day at the sanctuary. If their story moved you too, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button and share it with someone who needs a smile today. Subscribe to join us for more amazing animal friendship stories that prove love knows no boundaries. And hey, drop a comment below telling us what you think makes Ruby and Leo's relationship so special.